There we go. That is, hey, I'm live. Oh my gosh. This is, what a day. Hi everybody. For those who don't know, I'm David Carmichael, C Mike for short, and I am prepping for a one-shot tomorrow. I'm the Dungeon Master. We're playing D&D 5e 2016, and I've prepped. I've written, let's not say prepped, I've written a one shot, and I've been practicing my writing skills overall. And I am trying. Hey, Brickmaster, what is up? And I am trying to do quite a few things. This is the second one shot that I am running with a new writing structure approach to one shots that is satisfactory to me, and I want to share that structure, and I want to share this one shot a little bit. And tomorrow I'm going to run it. Afterwards I can talk about it too on another stream. I think there should be more stuff out there for people who want to be dungeon masters to see the different ways people prep. I prep different than other dungeon masters, and then there are ways that I prep similarly. It has been a day.
The tea bag can stand.
Thank you for making me some tea. A London fog. Ooh.
That's just Earl Grey.
Cheerio, governor. So there should be some music in the background. It should be royalty free, and I shouldn't have an issue. Should is the key word. If you want to listen to the music that I'm listening to, let me put it in the chat. Boom. There you go. Enjoy. Sunrise Chill, relaxing music for inspiration by Blue Turtle. Please don't be copywritten. Support them on Patreon, go to their Discord, do what you need. All music and sounds are licensed for YouTube with Epidemic Sound. Beautiful. That means I could do that. Okay. Jokes aside, this is a late stream. Let's make sure everybody knows that I'm live. We can do a little bit of that before we get into it. Is the music loud enough? Big important question, actually. How's my clickiness? Is it clicky enough? Okay, so let's dive in. Let's get deep into it and start it off. It's been a minute since I've been in OBS, and by a minute I mean like 2 weeks. Okay, so what you see on the screen should be my current D&D game storytelling. the background image when I switch between my windows. How behind is the... There we go. So let me bring it up in front of me. So at the top, Fables D20 Guide to D&D Game Storytelling. The goal of this document originally was for me to find a way to learn and more so memorize the 5-room dungeon philosophy, while also adapting it to the hero's journey and the heroine's journey. Again, this is my second time doing it. The first time I did it, it was a little bloated. I did a redraft and it's way better, but this is the second one shot. So, direction for adventuring storytelling, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So how I'm going to start, and I've kind of outlined a bit of this and we'll get through it. How many pages are there? There's about 8 pages right now. The world that this is taking place in. Aida. Cool. I know what that world is in my head. Dark Forest, Westlands. It is not in the Dark Forest, nor is it on the Westlands, which is a continent and a major forest in my world. It is actually going to be the Trading Seas and the Umbral Seas. The Trading Sea is essentially my world's Mediterranean area. And we are going, the era, Second Dawn, yep, locales. Specific local areas. So we're going to start in Martima, which is basically fantastical Italy. It's more than that, but to help your brain kind of picture the geography, I'm just going to try to connect it to real world locations. From Martima, we go to Tarka, which is Aida's version of Spain. Tarka is the city of orcs. We'll get more into that. Spanish are the orcs. Martima, Tarka, and it's a sailing adventure. Viper's Tongue. I got a little stuff on my microphone. Viper's Tongue, if below the Mediterranean there was a continent called Africa, then Viper's Tongue would be on the far west center side of Africa, if that made sense. Okay, quest. Players hired to escort a valuable shipping cargo. Perfect. Inspiration. What was the name of that vampire movie? That's definitely been floating in my head for this. Vampire Dracula movie on a ship. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. That's the name of the whole film? All right. Voyave. What else is on here? Lovecraft. So I got those as my inspirations. That's a mouthful. It really is. The movie was a blast. Low budget, but blast. All right, hard themes. So these are physical aesthetics that I want in this adventure. And it guides the visual direction. So when I think visually, I think of this. Sailing, deep sea monsters, I feel like sailing, deep sea monsters, shadows, rain. I could just call that storms. Yeah, I feel like that kind of covers the general physical aesthetics. Oh, sailing covers ships. Great. So philosophical exploration, the soft themes of the adventure, the creative direction. So in my previous version of this, was called Trouble in Hollow's Den. And that one shot was very much, the soft themes were wilderness versus industry. And that guided a lot of the creative choices and some of the NPC dialogue, and was a theme connected to the problems that the players are exploring for them to discover in the adventure. So, philosophical themes. Greed is going to be up there.
Didn't mean to be loud, but he was in a place he shouldn't have been.
Snape. My cat.
I get him. There he is.
There he is.
He was in the shelf that has like the internet and your hard drives.
Oh, buddy.
How much attention were you trying to get?
He got it all.
Yeah.
He won. Greed is going to be part of it. Mostly because how I've currently written it, how the Lovecraft aspect, the cosmic horror side of it, kind of gets in. It's tied to greed. So we'll put cosmic horror. That would help guide me as a DM, knowing that, hey, greed and cosmic horror is kind of tied together. When I have to make something up on the fly, hard themes, soft themes guide me. All right. Log lines and plot direction. This can kind of come after I've written it all. And because then I can summarize the adventure more succinctly, clearly. So let's move on. Act 1. So a big thing I do with how I structure my one shots is I try to follow acts. So I know I'm in the beginning, I'm in the middle, I'm at the end. So we're going to start with the ordinary world and the call. A trial of virtue being what's the normal day of the players, of their characters, while also, because this is a one shot and we want to do it in a single sitting, it's got to be tight. So basically I take the chapter ordinary world and the call and give it 3 acts, 3 beats, and because it's a one shot, each one's basically a sentence. Almost a sentence of narration just to get the machine moving. You've been hired by a district noble in Martima, the city of splendor on the shores of the trading sea, to be passengers on their next trading ship across the continent and protect their investment and the crew. I might get rid of the crew because the noble really doesn't give a shit about the crew. But I'll put in parentheses. Learn to love crew. Just as a reminder when I have this open on my phone or something. The party already knows each other. As the ship sets sail, you all have signed a contract that you all agree to the quest with good intentions. Kind of neutralize a little bit of the murder hobo chaos in there. You all settle in your shared room with 4 hammocks in a single chest for storage. Go ahead and describe what your characters look like and what's going through their mind. Clothes, ancestry, class, intentions, or attitude. So I find that playing with normal players, people who aren't experienced on camera, kind of having that list of like, yeah, what's their class, what's their ancestry or race, class, like intentions, like why did they pick the class, and then what's kind of going through their head right now. That's a great way to pull a normal player out of their comfort zone and kind of share their character with the table, which at the end of the day is what the player wants. The player wants everyone to admire their character. So let's get that up front, and it's a nice third act to setting everything up. If D&D has taught me one thing, it's never sign an adventure contract. All right, so we're moving on to the second chapter of the first act. Helping Hand. So if you're familiar with the hero's journey, this is the mentor, the magical item, the secret knowledge that is important for the main characters to learn, that sets them up primed and ready for the adventure to come. An ally's aid. The trials of virtue aren't really helpful for the first act. They're very helpful for the second act. So act 1, minor act 1 of Helping a Hand. There's a knock on the door. It's the first mate, Alora Windrider, an Elkin half-elf woman with a warm smile. So Elkin, in the world of Aeda, is a word that represents of elven descent. Gnomes are Elkin, half-elves are Elkin, so be it. A human could claim to be Elkin. And that's because in Aeda, in the Second Dawn, elves are basically extinct, and we have half-elves, which are descendants from them, and humans being descendants from half-elves. Gnomes, their descendants are halflings. I kind of did that evolutionary thing for this world building. So Elkin, it kind of tells you where that line comes from. Hey, Sam, we're doing one-shot prepping. Hello, adventurers. Welcome aboard. I'm first mate Alora Windrider. Our captain would like to see you now. Would like to see you. Would like to see you now that we've set sail. Follow me. Super simple dialogue, just a one-liner. Our first character that we meet. Let's get in there. This is the design of the ship. I wish I could build the ship. I only have the mini that I have. So, but this is actually for a future live stream and crafting project. This is the design of the ship that I want to make. So the main deck, we have the quarter deck, which is in the rear, captain's quarters, and a meeting room split between a shared wall. The forecaster deck, or the forecastle deck, which is the front, has a ballista on top, which is important for Aeda, and a crew barracks underneath, which can fit about 12 crew. The ballista is important even for a merchant ship, because there are so many magical monsters, and technology is held back. On top of monsters don't allow the progression of technology to move fast enough, and that's what allows us to stay in a fantasy world. Magic kind of capstones it. It's like, oh, if you want to advance things, just get into magic. Below decks. The upper below deck has VIP rooms, meaning the adventurers, the player's room. A dining room. This is where the crew would eat, with a small kitchen and VIP storage. VIP with VIP is a little confusing. I'm going to just say crew storage. The middle deck is the main storage for a merchant. It's great. Lower deck is the hold, which can be used as additional storage. Did my Discord just ding? It did. Sorry, guys. I'll close my Discord. Okay. So that's just Act 1 of the Helping Hand. We're meeting a person who wants to give us information. Perfect. And as a DM, I'm narrating us kind of vaguely, just quickly going over this where the places of the ship are to kind of prime the players. Hey, this is the location. This is the escape room that we're dealing with for the day. Act 2, we're meeting the captain. Captain Thaddeus Castor. I don't have the crew name, so in a little bit I'll ask you guys what the crew name should be. The captain is a halfling mortal man. In Aeda, mortal is kind of that same thing with Elkin. It's its own thing. Mortals are after Elkin, right? Halfling mortal man and it's also supposed to communicate lifespan. In the dining meeting hall, and if it's the meeting, I'm gonna get rid of dining because that's confusing. In the meeting hall, which is next to the captain's quarters, there is. Can you not see my? You can see my mouse in my highlights. Good. There is wine, fruit, and pork. From the shared wall to the quarters, the captain enters with a discerning discerning gaze. From the shared wall to the quarters, through a small hidden door. I love that idea. Mere mortals. Typically I have the big bold black to be dialogue that I want to have ready. And they're mostly sound bites that are important to communicate whether I get it right or wrong. Adventurers. I am Captain Thaddeus Castor. Welcome aboard the Storm Ward. I trust you have found your quarters satisfactory to your responsibilities. They have a small room down below, 4 hammocks with 1 chest. The idea is that he doesn't think highly of them. While I appreciate your presence in the Count of Martima's seaside, so seaside is the district of Martima that we mentioned before. Counts in Aeda are district lords. In the Count of Martima's seaside's investment in securing our voyage, I must insist that you respect the chain of command on my ship. My crew and I have sailed the trading sea for many years and know the dangers well. Storms, pirates, and cursed creatures. I assure you we will arrive at the pride of the coast, that is Tarka, and we'll get more to that, soon enough in one piece. Your assistance will be appreciated when called upon, but until then, please refrain from interfering with ship operations. Safety and efficiency are paramount for us to sail monstrous territory. The world is not safe. There are things to expect and things not to expect. Then there would probably be, in between these arrows, there are probably conversations that I and the players are having a little sprinkled through. And I just role play with them. Thank you for this is me trying to wrap up the act. Thank you for understanding and cooperation. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. Enjoy the free meal and the fair winds and calm seas. There haven't been any signs of sea dragons and sea hags for the last 3 months. So the odds are likely this will go well unless you know something I don't. The players don't know anything, but this is meant to say that there could be something. Act 3, how do we wrap up Helping Hand? Now that we've met not necessarily like the Gandalf mentor or the Obi-Wan, but this is like, it fits that mentor role, the captain, the first mate. The captain is asked for help looking over the ballista and storage with the first mate. The players are free to discuss their thoughts and roll a 1d6 on the umbral clock. So this is me. All right, we're done here, guys. Go ahead and talk. Put your thoughts together. What do you guys think? What do you guys want to talk about? Encouraging the players to kind of discuss what they know and think is really important, because then I can hear what they're thinking. The 1d6 on the umbral clock. The umbral clock, for some of you out there, you might know what the underworld clock is. The underworld clock 2.0 is called the umbral clock. It is a system that I've adapted from a few other works, and I really enjoy using this as a ticking time bomb in my games. And I have a whole 2-page system on that I basically refer to. The core rules for that is saved on essentially a tarot card. All right, Act 2, the dungeon. So combining the hero's journey and a 5-room dungeon together, the dungeon is really the magical world, right? Often I see the dungeon, it can be a literal ruin, cave system, a forest, or in this case, the adventure over the seas. So the Tempting Road is chapter 3. This might feel formulaic, but when you are trying to get a single one-shot with people who are in town just for a single day, and you have, at best, 4 hours, and you know you're going to go over time, you want to plan for something that would fit into 2 hours. So you want to keep it moving. And something I've learned from Curse of Amity Island, I almost said Curse of Strahd, Curse of Amity Island, is once you put players on a ship, they don't know what to do. They just want the ship to keep moving. So you want things prepared as best you can, especially when you're just sticking your players on a boat. The Tempting Road. The Trial of Virtue is known as Led Astray. Here I've written a little bit of a summary to keep my memory fresh. The adventurers face a sudden storm and must help the crew manage the ship to survive. It's great. That's a great way to start the second act. The sub act. The music's getting a little loud. Let me pull it back a little bit. It is peaceful though. I love it. The first minor act of this chapter, my brain. I can delete this. This is a little bothersome. There we go. The first act, the Storm Ward sails across the trading sea, heading west. I should make sure I clarify that. Heading west. The crew are busy with their assigned tasks, and the ship is moving smoothly towards the city of orcs, the Pride Coast, Tarka. I know, there's so many names for this one city. That's what would happen. So a little backstory on Tarka, because there's a little bit of world building. Tarka is the city of orcs. Tarka used to be a Jotunheim, a giant's fortress, a citadel from the Age of Thunder, 11,000 years before. And half giants in my world, Ada, are orcs. Versus orcs being whatever token or anything from Dungeons and Dragons made. So these are my orcs, and they're just half giants. And this is their city. They claimed it back, and they rebuilt it for themselves. And they are a militaristic central point in this continent. And it's kind of like Spain, when you're exiting the Mediterranean, it's important to stop at Tarka to make sure no smuggling, no piracy, no criminal activity is actually happening. So if you're a pirate in the trading sea, it's very difficult to get out. All right, so we're heading to the city of orcs. Suddenly, dark clouds gather on the horizon. The sea grows choppy. That night, lightning strikes. Roll a 1d6 on the Umbral clock. The Umbral clock is only going to get triggered if we land on a 0, starting at a 24. So this is just to put small pressure that something big is about to happen or going to happen to the players. Act 2. This is basically the storm. A dark and fierce storm hits the ship. Players must help the crew manage the sails, secure cargo, and keep the ship from capsizing. 4 tasks. They can split up and all do one, or they can work as a team on individual tasks. For every task that has an additional player helping, the DC lowers for that task, but the task for the ignored one becomes more difficult. Here are the 4 tasks. Secure the sailings and climb on the rigging and tie down the sails. Second one, manage the cargo and supplies from getting lost overboard. 3, repair damage to the hull and bailing water, meaning bucket up the water and get it off the ship. Securing and assisting the helmsman to keep the wheel steady and avoid floating sharp rocks. Let's just say avoid sharp rocks. There we go. So those are the 4 tasks. We have Dex and Charisma, Strength and Intelligence, Intelligence and Con, Strength and Wisdom. So we have a pretty good plethora of what players could do. Outcome. If successful, the ship weathers the storm with minor damages and the crew gains respect and morale for the players. And they are likely to aid the players. If failed, the ship takes significant damage and some supplies are lost, and they have to wait a full month at Tarka, making the second part of this journey more unpredictable. How we're going, rather than having a bunch of random tables on, which I'm totally fine for, but instead of having that for the unpredictability, because we want a sense of story for this one shot. If we're doing a massive campaign, random tables is a little bit more accessible. Basically, I'm just going to make the DCs far more difficult. And the players are going to be, we have 4 players for this, and they're all going to start at level 6. So we should be getting through this early act easy peasy. Either in managing cargo or bailing water, a crew member was spotted pulling out a metal box from a cargo crate. The crew member seems lost in thought, mesmerized by it. It's too dark to tell who it is, but then the ship hits a wave and you lose sight of them, and the voice of the first mate shouts for you to continue helping. So, this is meant to start seeding that Lovecraft cosmic horror thing going on. Act 3. The storm passes. The ship sails into calmer water. The crew is busy repairing damage for the storm, and the adventurers. I like adventurers in dialogue. I keep forgetting to just put players in here. The players have a moment to catch their breath. Describe peaceful, recovering thing. Let the players literally breathe from the anxiety of difficult tasks. Captain Thaddeus Castor calls the adventurers to the dining hall, to the meeting hall, and reveals the metal box with no keyhole or sign of hinges, but it does have designed art around carved into it, and carved into it, and then parentheses, Is hinges not a word? But there is a handprint on the top with a small red stain. Adventurers, thank you again for helping the crew last night. Did any of you notice something suspicious? If a player got that moment in Act 2 to spot somebody with a metal box, this is an opportunity for them to say it. If none of them did, then this metal box was found in the hold during the storm. It has no keyhole or hinges. Can you make any sense of it? Is it cursed? It's a little on the nose, but yeah. Investigation. They notice, if they investigate, I can give them an answer. They notice that there's a handprint with a red stain, hinting at a ritual and magical requirement, and the rest of the designs mirror monstrous tentacles. A character must, and then this is how the chest would open, right? A character must bleed from their hand and place it on the handprint. When they do so, the consequence is the character loses HP equal to a roll on their hit die permanently. The effect, the handprint burns away, creating an opening into darkness inside the box. At this point, they can just choose to let that be, or they can stick their hand in and find out what's inside. Inside of it is hundreds of diamonds. I'm going to say, is it hundreds? Yeah, we'll say hundreds of diamonds, each the size of an eyeball. Dwarves have gem eyes. Dwarven priests have diamond eyes. This box contains one of the rarest ingredients that is key for dark magic, resurrection. But there's enough diamonds to resurrect something that's either been dead for a millennia or something immense power. English, what is it? So that's where the act kind of ends, kind of hooky. And then we kind of jump to chapter 4, crossing the entrance. It's for the hero's journey, this is crossing the threshold and mixed with the entrance from the 5-room dungeon. The ship enters dangerous waters and faces an attack by Shawagin. The adventurers must defend the ship, secure the crew, and protect the cargo. So the first act is Tarka is a fortified city where the party can rest, resupply, interact with the orc inhabitants for 2 days of rest. Or 1 month if failed the storm. You can sleep on the ship or stay at a local inn. Let's just say tavern. While supplies are offloaded and onboarded. Ask the players directly, are there any quick resupplies, repairs, or shopping that interests anyone? Boom, get through it. After leaving Tarka, the ship approaches a dangerous, vast western ocean. Exiting the trading sea, Mediterranean region, the sea grows darker and more turbulent as the line where the sky meets the sea has zero hint of land. For some, this is calming. Others, it makes you nervous. The crew grows tense and whispers of legends of old sailor tales filled the air. How sea monsters have cut down ships and eaten sailors in the dead of night. The final leg of the journey is very far. Roll a 1d8 for how many days go until something might happen. This should be a 1d8 on the umbral clock, which will represent for how many days. We can kind of compress some of that. As the ship enters the vast ocean, exiting the trading sea, the Mediterranean region, the treacherous waters, navigating. Okay, I thought I had just read this. My brain. As the ship navigates the treacherous waters, the crew starts noticing sharks occasionally appearing around the ship. Some claim it's a bad omen, indicating the presence of something more dangerous lurking below. Some claim it's just their territory. Roll intelligence to recall any lore. If successful, the players can avoid being surprised or even try to gain surprise on the oncoming attack. So there's a mix here of things to read out loud and things not to read out loud. And being in one paragraph, that's not goodsies. So let's just separate this and put outcome so I can spot it. Did I break? No, it's good. Okay. Under the cover of night, there is no storm. The waters are calm. The wind keeps the ship moving south. I should communicate that we're going south a little bit sooner. Ski grows darker and no sign of land as we head south to Viper's Tongue. Great. Under the cover of night, there is no storm. The waters are calm, and the wind keeps the ship moving south. One crew member is on helm duty. A rope tied to the helm to keep it straight. Ask, what are all you? What and where are all? What are you all? English. What are you doing and where are you? That's what I should ask my players. Monsters. Shawagan, also known as the Deep Ones, emerge from the salty water bipedal amphibian creatures with razor-sharp teeth and claws. They look between a deep-sea fish and a great white shark, armed with tridents and nets. The reason why I'm picking Shawagan is because I have those minis from Curse of Amity Island. Other creatures that they could have met. Harpies, Marrow. Those are the two that are like distinct in my mind for the setting. But it'll be fine. I because we're in person and it's a one-time game, I want to just pull out minis to really get my players excited. And those are the minis I have, so it's going to be Shawagan. Even though they wouldn't fit for what I have near the end of the adventure, the players will be fine. The goal, I'm going to say monster goal. Monster goal. To capture the crew and steal the diamonds for a ritual. So the tasks for the players. Defend the ship, which you do that by repelling the Shawagan raid. 2 waves, 3 attackers. Number 2, secure the crew. Don't lose 3 crew members. 3, protect the cargo. 1 Shawagan per wave always tries to fetch the diamonds. They know where the box is. Sam Kent in chat. Sometimes physical restrictions happen and they can lead to some cool moments. Absolutely. Great example is in Curse of Amity Island. It's something incredible happens in that adventure. It's on the channel. And I don't have a mini to be used for the rest of the adventure when this thing happens. So we go into a heavy narrative moment to do some world building and character building. Minor Act 3 for crossing the entrance. Are these experienced or newer players? I have played with 3 of these 4 players before in one game. Out of those 3 players, 1 is the most experienced. The other 2 have occasionally played. So they're aware of rules or like the objectives in the game. I think the 4th person has played D&D as well, but I've never met him. I've talked to him on Discord, and that's about it. Act 3, the crew and adventurers. The crew and players gather to discuss what they have just experienced. The first mate points out that they seemed particularly interested in the room with the metal box. The players might move the metal box when they first learn about it in the Tempting Road. So I don't know where it is, so I have to be a little vague to myself, my future self here. And also, the further we get into the structure, the more I have to think about possible chain events, right? Branching trees, more of like a game development perspective. Because even though it's a one-shot with a clear story, I want there to be a good sense of agency, and that your actions do affect this short little story. First mate, did anyone notice how those creatures seem to be heading straight for the storage room? I'll change that when I need to. The one with the strange box. Captain, this was just the beginning. Viper's Tongue is still far away, and we need to stay vigilant. Let's double up the night shifts. Adventurers, can you ensure your team is rotating shifts to keep the crew safe? And we kind of just wrap up that dialogue. They're probably going to say yes. Or they're like, no, fuck you guys. They'll probably say something around like yes with some extra stuff. And I can roleplay the captain. And then I can interject as the DM and say roll 2d8 on the umbral clock for how many days until the next encounter. At this point, we are absolutely 100% going to hit 0 on the clock. And the clock rises. You know what? It doesn't even need to be a D8. It does. This can be a... Whoa. Where did I go? Here we go. It can be a D10 because the point of the umbral clock is that it grows the more you are in a dungeon or more adventuring, right? And we are kind of like skipping days. So it should just, every time we need to roll for it, it gets worse and worse. Proceeds to tell the crew to do it, instead kick their feet up. That is also an option. Or they're like, turn the ship around. So next, the dungeon interaction. For the hero's journey, this is one of the trials. It's a trial of wits or bronze. The dark magic within the metal box starts to activate, corrupting the crew and manifesting in cosmic treasure greed. Diamond madness. So the first dungeon room, the entrance, is typically some type of guardian bearing the entry. The guardian could be a monster. It can be a puzzle, like how do we open the door, Gandalf style. It can be any of those. Typically, it is some type of monster fight to get into the dungeon. And if there's a monster fight in the entrance, you want the interaction to be less monster fight, even though you can add one, and be more about the experience in this dungeon. So, what we have right up top, first failed wisdom roll, second failed wisdom roll, and third failed wisdom roll. This is a note on how to mechanically run the 3 acts. Okay? The players start to hear whispers more frequently and become slightly paranoid. The player sees shadowy figures and has trouble distinguishing reality from illusion. The third, the player fully succumbs to the madness, becoming the betrayer driven by greed and paranoia. Cool. Act 1. The adventurers and... I don't know why I wrote adventurers so much. The players and crew start hearing faint, unintelligible whispers as they approach the metal box. Wonder why. The whispers grow louder and more persistent, especially if they ignore it, inciting paranoia and greed among the crew. Players can roll whiz checks. Is it going to be checks? We are playing 5e, so I can say whiz saves. Once a day to avoid being charmed. So we are now doing day by day per act to really emphasize on the dramaticness of this. To avoid being charmed. The crew cannot resist and starts fixating on shiny things, like how the light fix on shiny things. There we go. Because I wrote these out. Bold that for my eyes. Did you see the way the sea sparkles, like 1,000 diamonds scattered on the waves? The stars look like glittering gems tonight, don't they? Almost close enough to reach out and take. The sunlight catches the edge of the sail, like gold thread woven in the fabric. I swear I saw something gleaming in the depths. It calls to me, like a jewel waiting to be found. The lantern light flickers like tiny crystals, casting dancing reflections all around. So this is very, I like to call Skyrim NPC dialogue. I'm totally okay with that. For an absolute one-shot, totally works. It totally works. And if I come up with something better in the moment, I'll say that too. So, second day, Act 2. Shadowy figures dance in the corners of your vision. The crew becomes restless, their paranoia turning to hostility. Roll a second wisdom save. Shadow monsters become materialized, lashing out to you with their insidious presence. Failing means you believe you can be physically harmed by them, because they are just illusions. So what this is going to do is I'm going to be using the monsters, the shadow monsters. They're called just shadows. They're undead, but they are an illusion. So the wording of this means your brain believes you can be physically harmed by them, and therefore you do. It's kind of a placebo effect. Success means ignore the fatigues. The figures and fighting off the monsters. So you can just fight the monsters if you succeed. You can fight them if you fail, but you're likely to take some damage. Act 3. Now the betrayal. That wouldn't happen there yet. So the is this supposed to be the betrayal? No, not yet. Act 3. The air thickens with tension as you gather the ingredients for the ritual. Huh. Something's missing. I've added something with... This is where I had a clever idea and I just kept going. The crew, now mad, thralls, lurch towards the adventurers' eyes fixed on and demanding the box. They want to all resurrect a loved one named Umberlee. Roll 5 wisdom save. Intelligence roll to recall lore on Umberlee. So if you know D&D lore, you know who Umberlee is, but Umberlee here is slightly different. Umberlee does value treasure. She rules over marrows and sea monsters, specifically marrows, and she is known as the Kraken, the mother of monsters, the vengeful spirit of the sea. Okay, so the ritual is important for this act. I need to establish the ritual. What? Because right now, even you, what's the ritual? The favorite NPC or a player who fails 3 wisdom rolls under the control of the DM betrays the player and attempts to steal the box to give it to the sea. Players must protect the box, avoid killing the crew, and cast a ritual to bind the box or trap the curse inside. If they succeed, the crew all passes out and wakes up the next day emotionally hungover. Okay. There's some holes here that need to be filled out, so we'll come back to that. Let me define ritual and how they can learn it. Great. Chapter 6, Dungeon Setback. Tricked. Fail. Okay, so the setback. Tricked is not the right word for the virtue. I don't know what it should be. I think setback is just overall the right thing. So in this one, I've kind of just summed the 3 possibilities. I hope everyone is playing clerics and druids to have any chance to pass the waves of wisdom saves. Remember, if they stayed in Tarka for a month because they failed the storm, those saves are going to be harder. We do have a cleric. What classes are available? Or not? They can pick any class or any 5e race for this adventure. Even Aarakocra. Because I'm curious to see how an Aarakocra would get on with this adventure. So we have the only known player build so far. Is it... here we go. I have a paladin who wields an anchor as a weapon. Like kind of like a gaff hook, and it's basically going to be run as a maul. And then we have a Water Genasi Tempest Domain cleric. So we have a Tempest Water Genasi. I'm expecting that cleric to come in clutch for the storm. Did my music kind of end? Yeah, it did. There we go. So in the setback, there are 3 outcomes, and this is kind of that tree branching effect that happens in this adventure. Can you see it? Is it too off screen? It is. How's that? You know what I could do? I could just go to OBS and try to fix it. There we go. Just shrink it down a little bit. Has it always been this way? No, it was just this page. Okay, thank gosh. There we go. Okay. All right, so the dungeon setback. So the 3 possible outcomes, especially from coming from the interaction chapter, right? Oh my gosh, epic music. I was hoping for relaxation. There we go. Fail to stop the betrayer. And the betrayer, so the setback, if you don't know what the setback is, I have to set context. I got to remember that. So setback. In the 5-room dungeon, there's a setback room where the path that you thought was going to go forward is no longer that path, and you have to figure out which way you're going next. This could be a literal puzzle, being like, well, we can't go this way, we have to go this way, and stuff like that. So far in the 2 adventures I've written in this structure, by this point, it's literally multiple paths that the story could go. So different directions for the adventure. Fail to stop the betrayer. Man, I have chosen preparing for a quest, fantasy tavern music. There we go. Fail to stop the betrayer. This is the favorite NPC that has been built up the entire adventure. I'm expecting it to be the first mate or the captain, but it could easily be any NPC so far. If a player fails all 3 rolls, they were the betrayer, right? Despite their efforts, the players were unable to catch the betrayer before they escape with the box. The betrayer reaches the edge of the ship where the influence of dark magic is strongest. The influence is strongest. There we go. They begin performing their own dark ritual to unleash the full power of the diamonds. My format is all kinds of crazy. There we go. Diamonds, which pours the diamonds off the ship and feeds the rarest treasure to the sea. The Great One. In my world, Great Ones are what you would call greater deities, right? In Aida, there is no real, like, gods. There are spirits taking from a... did I write it down? The wording of what I'm trying to communicate? Big old Lordock. Here we go. animistic and polytheistic faiths. So, Aedians, I have yet to figure out what to call my people, but in Aeda, the habitants believe in multitude of spirits, each tied to natural elements, locations, or emotions. These spirits can be anything from a river or a mountain to a specific feeling like joy or sorrow. These deities of Aeda are known as spirits. Great ones are spirits of immense power, often ruling over large domains and significant aspects of life, such as the sun, the moon, ancient dragons, Olympian giants, genies, or archfey. Yeah. So that's the context of why I added the word Great One. So the Great One, Umberlee, is awakened. And battle against 3 waves of man-eating tentacles. Until the ship begins to be eaten. So basically we have give me a second. There we go. Umberlee's awakened and is attacking the ship. She is the Kraken, right? So we're having a very Pirates of the Caribbean Kraken fight. And at the end, the ship will be swallowed. Unless there is a way to prevent that outcome, which we still have to write. But it's also like the awakening of Cthulhu kind of experience. The second path from the previous chapter, fail the ritual. Okay, so they did stop the betrayer, but they failed the ritual. The players begin the ritual, but something goes wrong. A critical mistake or missing component causes the ritual to backfire, releasing a wave of dark energy that teleports the ship under the sea, and makes the ship an ancient ruin. The players are thrown into chaos with the ship's integrity compromised, and the crew are all transformed into Sahuagin. Players must escape the deep sea with the diamonds and metal box, basically. If they reach the surface, they find a small boat remains with their favorite NPC waiting for them. As a one-shot in with minis, I'm designing this with my minis in mind. So, once I finish reading all 3, I will go over the minis that I'm thinking of for these big kind of climactic moments. So let's say they succeed at stopping the betrayer, succeed at the ritual. What happens? The players stop the betrayer and correctly perform the ritual containing the dark magic within the box. The crew is freed from its influence. So all the Cthulhu-y wisdom rolls going on in the previous chapter, all cleared. And the crew is freed from its influence, and the ship returns to normal, allowing the journey to continue with restored morale and respect for the adventurers. The adventure continues. If we succeed on 3, we move on to 7, the climax. If my thinking is, if we succeed on 2, we continue the adventure to 7, the climax. And it will have 7 has a lot of options too. If you succeed here, if you get to the end of this is where I'm struggling, and I want to bounce some ideas off of you, and I'll probably we'll figure something out for this. So that's the setback, right? The story could have 3 possible major directions based on the player's choices and dice rolls. So the minis that I'm thinking for Umberlee, I don't have the D&D Kraken mini. I thought about it, and you know what? That's not as terrifying as what I have in mind. What I have in mind, let me grab a mini for you. Okay, so the minis for number one, the minis for number one failed to stop the betrayer. So this is the ship. Anyone who's watched Curse of Amity Island, very familiar with this ship. We even have a ballista up on the forecastle. I'm still trying to memorize my ship terms. So instead of tentacles, I haven't been able to get to use this mini yet, so I'm super excited, is the purple worm. So I'm going to have the purple worm come out as a man-eating tentacle. Nom nom. It is the mother of monsters, so it should be weird. And that's very Cthulhu-y that this is the tentacle. And number two, fail the ritual when it goes all underwater. This is what I'm going to replace the ship with, is kind of this ruined ship. Well, I could show off a little bit of it. I think I painted this in 2 hours, something like that. And it's basically a 1-to-1 for that other ship mini, other than the yellow is no longer there. When its hand can eat you. And then they were swimming up, so that would be a countdown event, and we have weak. I would probably make those Shawagons weaker. And by weaker, I mean a little bit less AC and a little bit less HP, right? They're fresh Shawagons. You know, the crew just turned into them. So the challenge swimming up, I think, would be as they swim up, I think they should be able to get up, right? I'm not going to control their breathing mechanic. At least right now, that's my thought. And instead, the countdown as they're swimming up to the surface is, what would it be? If they're rolling now, it would be like a D12 on the clock. So I would say 3 rolls on the clock, and okay, 3 rolls on the clock, and then we can get to the surface. If the clock strikes while they're swimming to the surface, I'm gonna add a shark to the situation. So let me write that down. Roll on the umbral clock 3 times to get to the surface. Did you know surface was with a V? I didn't. Surface. If the clock strikes 0, there's a shark. Simple notes for me as a DM. Fisto, speedrunning hypoxia, and then have a deal with a shark. Diabolical. How do I pronounce that? Hypoxia? Hypoaxia? Hypoxia? I never had to read that word before. I appreciate you bringing that to light for me. Speaking of light, hit the like button. Okay, so we have that. That's fine. I'll make a note that the Sahuagin. I always forget how to spell it, and I always look at ways how I've previously spelt it. Turn it into ships, integrity is crews, turn it into Sahuagin. Easy is a 9, medium is a 12, hard is a... I go by Shadow Dark's dice system. Easy is a DC 9, normal is a DC 12, hard is a DC 15, extreme is a DC 18. This is a reason why I really love Shadow Dark, even though we're not going to be playing it. Mostly because I'm still printing and drawing up the spell cards for this book. All the ACs for monsters in Shadow Dark are based around the difficulty scale, nothing else. And I love that. They can be somewhere in between, but they stay within range of that. So the ACs for the Sahuagin, I think, should be easy because there's already... You're trying to get to the surface. Easy. So DC 9. The shark. Let's just write down what the shark would be. D&D Beyond. Shark. This might not fit the screen correctly. Okay, we got a giant shark. Does this adjust it? Hypoxia. Ah, perfect. Okay, so the giant shark, I have the mini for it, which is going to be terrifying to see. Armor class 13. I'll make it an AC 12. Hit points 126. Heck yeah. Let's just make 120 for a flat. Hey, Allie, what time are we planning to leave to get there?
Did you get my text message?
I did not.
Okay, so, Matilda's coming with us.
Great.
She said there's a vegan place nearby. Do you want to get food?
We can.
Okay. What time do you...
The show
Is
at 9:30. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Oh, you're
We
done.
have-
You're done live streaming.
I'm still live right now.
Oh.
We have a show we're planning on going tonight.
Is this yours or mine?
That's mine.
I think mine's on the couch.
Um,
So it takes 20 minutes from here to get there, but the food place is like really close nearby. So
we should probably try to leave around 7:30.
because then we'll get there. Well, no, that's cutting it close.
You want to do 7?
We should leave here at 7 so we get there at 7:30, so we have like plenty of time.
Okay.
I'll
I mean,
check.
then I'll stream for maybe another half hour,
Okay.
and then I can have 30 minutes to just clean up and get ready to go.
Okay.
Cool. Meanwhile, I have to pump up HP to 900 range, and my players still curb it and stomp it. So, Sam, that is a thing that I thought I would have an issue with. The way my brain looks at HP is different than most DMs that I have talked to or experienced with. I see HP as a time management tool. We playing this game in one day. Either having a lot of HP and me communicating, it barely affects the monster, tells the players keep going, or they stop to fight it, and this is going to eat up time. So HP is 120. They're gonna be level 6, and there's a paladin. Um, I won't let this fight. If they stop to fight the shark, I'm not gonna let the fight last longer than 3 rounds. Either in 3 rounds the shark dies, which is likely at 120, or it in 3 rounds the shark will die. That's very likely because that's 40 points of damage per round. I think the party will be able to do that if they stop to fight it.
How many players?
4 players, level 6.
I know, but you.
If they stop to fight it, it would take 40 it would be 120 points of damage. They could get that done in 3 rounds.
3 rounds. Okay. Which is like 3 rounds can be long depending on how many actions have run.
Right.
I would say just make sure it dies within 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm. And it's a shark underwater. So if I just say it dies in 3 rounds, then I would narrate how the blood of the shark fills the ocean. And that's not good. To hopefully keep on moving. There's more. If you stay here, I will add more sharks. If this is where the adventure needs to meet its fate, so be it. So cool. That's what that would be. And they get to the top of the sea where either the captain, the first mate, or whoever their favorite character is who survives is waiting for them. I will try to keep either the first mate or the captain alive with that, just to have a consistent character from the Helping Hand chapter. I think that's going to be important. Or at least satisfying. Then we go down. Let's go up to Fail to Stop the Betrayer, who summons Umberlee. We need stats. Umberlee. How do I spell tentacle? Tentacle? Did it. So we need 8. Oh, we don't have the HP for the Shawagin. We'll get to that too. So Shawagin, what's their HP? 22. Because these are easy guys, we will cut it in half and put it at 11. I already have a shark in this situation. That's a lot for a one shot. But the Shawagin earlier will probably be normal stats. Armor 12. Oh wow, there we go. Oh, I've been fixing the wrong thing, haven't I? Studio mode. Let's get rid of that. There we go. How long do I plan the session to last? I'm planning for as close to 2 hours as possible, which means it's going to last 6 hours. No, I'm trying to land somewhere between 4 to 5, and I'm trying to be conservative and very like narrative focused with the plot, so that way I can keep the thing moving. Let's go to the Kraken and see what rules as written are. That's a big monster. Tentacles, plus 17 to attack, reach 30, hit 20 points of damage. Grappled, that's pretty great. Like, these rules are pretty good for the tentacle. Until the grapple ends, the target is restrained. The Kraken has 10 tentacles. Well, we're only doing 1 tentacle at a time. deals double damage to objects. I like that. Okay. AC 18 seems a bit high, but we are talking about summoning the big monster, right? Young Kraken stats. Let's see what they have. He's so cute. That's pretty decent. The AC and the hit points is far more manageable. 17 damage from the tentacle, 20-foot reach. Oh, this is, dude, I know the mini for this. It's not that insane, but this is much more manageable for a 6-level party. Okay, so let's take a copy of that and bring it over here for a second. Tentacle. Attack 12. Reach. Let's go. Melee. Melee attack. Reach. I kind of want to change the one target. I can keep it and just have multiple attacks. We got bludgeoning, great. Bludgeoning and grappled. DC 20. That seems high. Is that higher than the adult Kraken? It is. Let's bring that down to 18. Until the grapple ends, the target is restrained. The Kraken has 10 tentacles. Let's get rid of that. Tentacle. We have 3 waves of the tentacle. Ooh, legendary action sweeps over the ship. So what I like to do for multi-attack is half the number of players is the multi-attack. And then we can do legendary. And the same thing goes with legendary actions. I think 1 legendary action will be fine. Half number of multi-attack. Oops. There we go. So this will be... Dex save DC. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Dex save DC 15. What is that? Extremely difficult? If I go by Shadow Dark rules? That's hard. 15 is hard. For like most characters that There can be some that just succeed like no business. Yeah, let's do 15. This is a big boss. There we go. Dex save DC 15. Or take I'm actually going to remove the dice because I don't roll damage as a DM. 17. I'm going to do 10. Just a flat 10 bludgeoning damage. You roll a dex save. You know what? I don't want it to be a dex save. I kind of want it to be I kind of want wisdom, dex or wisdom. Because they can see it coming, right? That's the idea. They either dodge it or they see it coming. And then there is the con save to avoid falling overboard. I think con save, just to mix it up. Strength. Make it strength. Physically got to hang on to the ship idea. Do a little damage, but mostly push them so their fear of knocking them over. Yep. You know what? Let's just do a 9. Kind of underrepresent. Yo, just got home. How's everything going? It's going, buddy. So we got the tentacle, and we have 3 waves. How long is a wave? 1 round. Well, I want the wave for them to fight the HP down. That's how I do waves, and I should stick to my waves. So baby kraken is what we want to rely on. We are in the 6th chapter of the structure of the story. How many total? I never remember. 9 total. Young Kraken, AC 16. Let's do that. HP 200. Yeah, because the shark is kind of the shark and the Sahuagin underneath the sea are kind of making up for the lack of fighting Umberlee. 16 HP 200. Great. 3 waves. Let's do 2 waves. Because I'm trying to think of time. That's because that's 400 HP total. Each wave is going to be a reset. I might want 100 HP. I do. I want 100 HP. When I think about time, 100 is better. So 100 HP, 16 to hit. Most people should be able to do that. Because you get 100 down, and then it goes under the sea, rises again onto the other side of the ship. And then you beat that one, comes down, and like the Kraken's mouth. I don't have a mini, so it's all me on that part. Starts devouring the ship and rushing it down. What does the party do? There is a dinghy that they can jump in. So I should remember dinghy to escape. And then the adventure continues to the next point. Cool. Or they die. Totally possible. Great. Then we got the Sahuagin. Ads will run shortly for some viewers. Heads up, in 50 seconds the ads will run, or they're just starting to run. I don't know which one. Succeed to stopping the betrayer. Cool. This is just a description, and we move on. I feel fine with this. Essentially, one boss or the other, or you got around the boss fight. I think that's fine. We do have to come back to define the ritual. And we have only a couple minutes left. Okay. This is probably one of the hardest parts. Let me adjust my screen. Does that mess with you guys? No, that kind of just works. That honestly works really well. I should have been doing this the whole time. If you have the time, you could get a bowl and a bowl and cut the half it. Ooh, that's fun. That's a fun idea. Okay, so for this part, here we go. So in the dungeon climax, in the 5-room dungeon, this essentially is the big boss fight. In Elden Ring, it's the boss fight at the end of every dungeon. Mixing this with the hero's journey. We have 4 possible ways to kind of run a dungeon climax. And I really have come to love this idea, though I have yet to execute it well. It is the ordeal. The final encounter against the boss of the dungeon. There are 4 boss types, not all mean combat. So the first one, atonement. The players choose to forgive and pardon or deliver justice. This is either fight the monster or talk your way through the monster. Union with the supernatural. Demonstrate love, kindness, respect to avoid conflict. You could, in a very spiritual way, is connect to an idol that is a deity or spirit that could protect you and push outward a more feminine versus a more masculine energy to unionize, right, with the spirits. The trick, which is sleuthing, lying, or stealing to avoid. That kind of doesn't seem to work with this story beat yet, but we'll kind of figure that out. And then apothesize. This is a $20 word that means brave sacrifice, become a god. You go Super Saiyan. That's what that means. So what we have for atonement, what are some possible narrative options here? And this should come out of any of those options. So this is more tied to what the music. There we go. So we have 30 minutes. The issue I've always had trying to get Dungeon Climax to work is that I always end up having some type of battle in the setback. I did like the tea, thank you.
It tastes like lavender in a cup.
Tastes like lavender in a cup. That's exactly what it was. Um, so I feel like climax, because after the climax, we have Act 3. Act 3 is kind of a dungeon phase 2, the resurrection. This is an old thing from my previous adventure. Baron turns to a great wolf. Yeah, this is all... What was this? Defeated but says, Silverlight glow, where shadows sprawl, I will from grow mighty tall. With a ravaging wrath, my fangs spread wide, a second chance to hunt you dead. Baron turns into a giant werewolf. Yeah, I guess I gave this to the monster last time I wrote this. Yeah, Hollow's Den is saved. That's the reward. So the reward should be Viper's Tongue. Road back home is a reflection. How do you want to wrap this up? Where do we go from there? So the road back home in Hero's Journey standards doesn't have to be a literal road back home because that's its own adventure. This is more of a moment to let the players reflect and what are their characters feeling after Zilthing. Empty-handed or not. A new world. Wrap it up. World, small or large, should be changed by the PCs. So this is just a wrap up. So this is the road back home is players wrapping it up, and this is DM wrapping up the setting in the world. So we know where we're ending, right? If they are successful to getting here, they might die here, and that's the adventure. But if they make it all the way, this is the reward. They get there, they get paid. Here we go. They arrived at, they have treasure, they have cargo, or the box. They are paid. They are empty-handed. They are enslaved. Viper's Tongue, everybody. Not a great place to visit. It is ruled by the Queen Viper and her servants, and basically the police of Viper's Tongue are Yutani, which are cursed snake people. But it is 634, so all this... I think this just has to be kind of a narrative thing. We'll figure that out. Let's see. Let me write it this way. Hey. There we go. So, resurrection. Resurrection doesn't have to mean literal resurrection, even though we had a resurrection. Resurrection can mean overcoming failure, learning something new about yourself. Let's change my more bullets. I like my custom bullets. So I gotta figure out what the resurrection's going to be. And I need to flesh out the climax. Even though this feels very much like the climax. Am I wrong about that? Like, this means there's one more beat. And like, again, this is the second time I'm using this structure that I've made. Come on. Treat me right. There we go. Unless I'm getting too far ahead, and that what I've written as setback should exist in climax. And then I'm just getting my setback wrong. And then I just got to work out the ritual. So this is basically how I have been preparing for one-shots this year. Ever since I got to play in a one-shot adventure, not as the DM for the channel, and that one-shot's going to come to the channel real soon. Yeah, I guess I get this wrong. The final encounter against the boss. So this should be the climax, not the setback. I'm not crazy, am I? So if I delete that, oops, and put that there. You're right. It could be a social encounter. You're right. There we go. How do all three of these end? Let's take that creative exercise. There's a dinghy to escape. We have a little dinghy boat right here. They make it to the top. Their favorite NPC is there. Or, no. We can have a dinghy on both of the first two, and we have the ship that survives it at the third. So either way, by the end, their favorite NPC will be there. I think the favorite NPC is whoever it's going to be by the end of the adventure. I think the favorite NPC is a priest, of the Kraken. Slash Umberlee. We have a stat for that. Kraken Priest. I like that art. So these four choices are less of choices for the players. Well, there are choices for players. They may not always apply. So, like, we need something to trigger the idea of lying and stealing, right? We need something to trigger kindness. And we need something to trigger in the players, which is the more obvious choice. Atonement is always the obvious one. Forgive or deliver justice. So that's what we have to have something that triggers these thoughts. I'm going to say this is just spirituality. That's not right. There we go. Because we have a cleric, a Tempest cleric, priest v priest, faith v faith. Hell yeah. if the priest steps up, I'm gonna trigger this. Lying and stealing. There's gotta be something to steal. Something to steal and take powers away. If they take the powers away, I don't know. I don't know what the sacrifice might be. But I do have to go. Allie was here on stream and I promised 6:30 and it's 6:40. Perhaps Umberlee Priest is becoming an avatar. Ooh. Okay. Avatar, Kraken Priest becomes avatar. Okay, we'll keep that in there. So they can lie, steal the cargo. I mean, if it's the third, I'll say this: if it's if from 1 and 2, you delete the trick, but if 3 exists, the trick stays. Lying and stealing the chest. I want you guys, if you guys know, to drop in the comments of the VOD what you think some more ideas for atonement, union, trick, and apotheosis can be. I don't even know I'm saying that word right. Drop it in the comments what you think these can be. So after the stream, when I come back from the show tonight, I can check your comments and write them down and keep them as fodder for me to be ready for the game tomorrow. I would really appreciate that. And then probably when I wake up, while I'm having coffee, I will tackle making sure that I mention the ritual correctly in the 5th stage. But yeah, that is me prepping a one-shot. Obviously, I've written a lot of this out prior to this stream. This is probably like a total of a day's worth of writing scattered across all of the 4 days of me like having this structure has helped me kind of like at least get the adventure started, and I can make shit up on the day if it like gets off tracks. But I want to get better and better at writing adventures this way, because I feel like for one shots, this is super story focused, super easy for anyone who has any sense of story in their mind or are looking for just a quick game and a quick fix. This is great for it. And there's not that much mechanical design built in. It's very much just tension building, rising story. And in your prep, you figure out what the roles are and what the DCs are. Like this, the first DC will be a 12. And then I'll put a /15 if it got bad. This one will be a 13, 16. And this one will be a 14, 17. The second number is because if they get stuck in the storm and they had to stay a whole month in Tarka. So that's how that will go. So yeah, I like this structure. I have been tweaking it here and there. This is my 3rd draft of the structure. And once I really get it locked in, I definitely want to offer it to backers and people who are in the Discord. So yeah, drop in the comments what you think. If you have any more ideas for the atonement, union with the supernatural, the trick, and the the apotheosis. Apotheosis? Let me know. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me while I get ready for tomorrow's game. I'm really happy and excited that I was able to share this with you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, make sure to notify all, or head over to the Discord for free, link down below, and get notified when things happen on the channel. And if you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/fablesd20. I appreciate you guys spending your time with me. If you want to get the whole stream, watch the VOD all over. I'll take the views. I won't be streaming tomorrow. I will stream Friday. We can talk about how it went. Thank you so much for hanging out. Have a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, evening, and of course, a wonderful, beautiful good night, everybody.